You all for coming. I suddenly got a bit nervous because I saw so many friendly faces. And also thank you to the Syrians for going through this in English. There's so many of you, we should perhaps be doing it in Arabic. My name is George. I've been a co-founder with Rose of Action Syria. We've been doing it for a decade. We hope it can carry on for at least another decade. I arrived in Syria in December the 10th. To the kind of euphoric jubilations in the square in the middle of Damascus, and I left a couple of days after, having spent some time in Latakia on the 6th, 7th, 8th of March. So a sort of full range of emotions, but I want to ask the people that know it better than me, and there'll be 15 minutes at the end for some questions. I am going to try and be sort of Britishly strict on time, just in case answers wander on a little bit, and that's the same for your questions as well. So I'm going to introduce you first of all, Oussama Chourbagi from Mars. Met Oussama very briefly, although I don't think you remember, in a hotel in the middle of Damascus. You were so busy, I was waiting around like all journalists do. Waad, Al-Kateab, who needs no introduction, I guess most famous for, but not only famous for Sama, and Death Without Mercy, just a couple of her films, and Alcharani, from Abjad. And the significance of Mayas and Oussama is that they're both new projects for Action Syria, and so we hope that these are relationships that we can continue in Syria over the next 3, 5, 10 years' time. Okay, so perhaps I can just start by you introducing yourself. A couple of sentences about Mars, what they've been doing.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to be part of this evening. I am Oussama Chourbagi from Daraya. I am pharmacist, and I got my PhD in biology, molecular biology from Paris. I am the CEO of Mars organization, which means Multiple Action to Rebuild Society. And Mars started its work in just with the beginning of the revolution in 2012, and on several sectors, especially in protection and governance, peace building, and economic resilience. We have a lot of projects inside Syria, but we believe in democracy, which I think it's what Syria needs for the future. And we believe strongly in non-violence struggle and techniques to change the mentality of people for the long-term work inside Syria.
So I'm going to come to you both in a minute, but what then, just whilst you talk about that, what are the top two difficulties for Syria? What are the biggest challenges in the next 6 months or a year for the new government?
Yes, maybe we can talk after the fall of the regime. I think people lived for 3 months in relief and disbelieving, because it was it's like a wake up of a long nightmare for several decades, and especially the last 14 years. But after that, I think people now live with commitment and determination. They realize that, okay, the happy days are gone. Now we are with new realities. We need to have a hard work. People are now, after, I think in this summer, a lot of people return to Syria from Turkey, from Lebanon, from Jordan, and from Europe. Not a lot, but the statistics say that it's approximately 1 million. And they have their experience. We have as well more than 600,000 of internal returnees. All these people faced the same challenges. The people don't have services. They need to rebuild their homes. But at the same time, I feel that when discussing with people, they have another demand. They want to recover from what they lived and they faced during these whole years. And I think this is more deep than only services. And people need to rebuild their state, to feel that now the Syria, it's our Syria. For a long time, people felt that the state and the government and the institution isn't for them. And this city isn't for them. And now, I think people, what they want to see is something that change their image about the former regime. So yeah.
Okay. Can I come back to you in a minute?
Yeah.
Mayas, tell us a little bit about Abjad, what you've been doing since the 8th of December. Has that been, well, tell us about yourself and since then, and then we'll go backwards.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, my name is Mayas Alcharani. I'm co-founder of Abjad in 2018 with my wife and other Syrian diaspora. I worked also with several NGOs in Turkey before, and recently now I'm working with Cambridge University Press as like my full-time job. And now I'm starting my PhD about education reform in Syria. So for Abjad, since December 8th, it's a huge change for us. Abjad it's Abjad Initiative for Education, the full name that we have. So all our work is around education, not only formal education, but also informal with children and with youth. We were working on to continue the education, and previously we supported education in camps. So we were supporting the children to continue their academic year, and we are building a continuous program. So although that they are now going finally to their homes and their villages, but now we are doing a follow-up program with them to see how they are settling down in their area, and we start rehabilitating some schools in Idlib, in southern Idlib, and in rural Damascus. We are starting now a project about supporting a scholarship for university students, and we are doing a lot of youth engagement activities and like sessions in Damascus and in Idlib, and we are looking also to increase this with for more location, but we are using the expertise of all Syrian diaspora who are currently now going back actively to Syria, even for visits, to use their expertise and do session with them on different topics.
Right. And what were you doing? Give us a sense of what you were doing before the 8th of December.
So previously, as I said, like our education project was mainly focused on like education in informal IDP camps, which was in hard-to-reach area, and even it was not recognized by the UN, not the big camps. So we started like first like about like informal education to help students go back to school, and then we didn't find any school, so we started schools. So we're supporting 4 schools in this different 4 camps, and we have online school which teach Arabic to Syrian and Arab in diaspora, but through Syrian teachers in Syria. So we build the digital skills for teachers and provide them with economic livelihood opportunities through different ways. And additionally, we have programs to support youth to enter the market, like by helping them sort of workshop how to prepare their CVs and apply for a job and so on.
And what do people say? What are these young girls and boys saying to you when you're in the classrooms, or what are their parents saying about the work that's happening at the moment?
You mean now? Like,
Are they excited by it? Is it something that they're doing in between school? Are they waiting to like many Syrians before, try and get degrees and go to Europe, or do they want to?
I think this is the most interesting part. Like we rehabilitated school in southern Idlib, in a village which was like most of it damaged, and it was like almost all empty because it was like near the front lines. So when we rehabilitated school, although that many of the houses was not rehabilitated yet, people was like happy that the school is rehabilitated. They were really happy to have their children back, and this, like the children was like saying that, okay, finally I'm going back to school, because many of those children also, they were like they have the education in tents, but not in a proper school, for example. So it was like, it was just an image in their mind, and when they came back to this school, I was excited. So this is very interesting, like, although that there is a lot of difficulties now in Syria and the economic situation and in the infrastructure, but education stay like in the heart of people always.
Fantastic. How many people teachers do you employ?
For the online school, we have now around 55 teachers, and in schools we have I think also around 50 teachers. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to come to you. You've probably documented the plight of the Syrian people, contributed to that more than anybody, and slightly embarrassed to be sitting here in front of so many Syrians after the protests at the weekend. But you're welcome. Please ignore everybody else. They don't know what they're saying. But when I was in Damascus, there was this constant phrase on everybody's lips between the sort of laughter and the tears, "Free Syria, welcome to Free Syria." What does that mean to you at the moment? You're not home in Syria, but also you've got kids at home. What are you talking to them about around the dinner table? Is Syria a place that you'd like to go back to? Is it still home? And maybe you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. I think, for many years since we came here as refugees, it's been now, I think, 7 years and ish. We've been all the time trying to push back the idea that this can be a second home. I didn't want to believe that. I didn't want to make it happen. I tried for them, for my 2 daughters, but at the same time, I was all the time like pushing that back. Although at that time, I wasn't sure like if Syria will be back anyway. But it was always about, like, I don't want to have another home. Like, that's home, and that's always will be home. When the fall of the regime happened, I started to realize that actually, like, no, I love living here, My life here is good. This is their life. This is their home. And maybe Syria is second home for them, while for us, it's the other way around. All these years, I was trying, to, I think, protect them from Syria, the Syria that we know about bombing, shelling, death, and loss, and grief. But at the same time, I was trying all the time to tell them everything I know about that in a way that I want them to feel they are Syrians. We managed to go back recently, and they were with us. And I think the 2 girls has really different perspective about so many of us here. First, they were really scared about going back, and I think everything was in their mind is about what they've seen in Oussama and, the story that we tell, or even if we don't tell them, but they pick up from what we talk with our friends.
Have they seen the film?
Yes, both of them, yes. But I think, they were saying that the situation is better than what they expected. They loved it, really, and they kept telling us all the way, like all this month, that we love it for a visit, but we're not going to go back to live there.
Right.
And for me and Hamza, we were both like all the time, how can we tell them that we don't want to even go back to London? It was really like tricky and difficult conversation. Now I think every day on dinner we try just to persuade them in different ways,
Right.
What can we get you for us to come back to Syria? It's really difficult, and to be honest, like, maybe this is my first talk since I come back. I didn't want to maybe do it at the beginning because I don't know what I really think of Syria. I belong there so much, and all these years I was fighting for my feeling toward that. I think the minute I went back, I felt all wave of feeling of, yes, I belong here, I don't want to go anywhere else. The situation on the ground is really upside down. Like in every minute, in every visit, in everyone you see the whole joy and positivity and everything you want to do for the future. But at the same time, you see dead ends everywhere. Yet, I think maybe Oussama was talking about this, like this time now, it needs different tools, different techniques, different things we need all to discover and to understand, to be able to see how can we, like be on the ground, do things we believe in. Sometimes not maybe exactly what we want to do, but like it is a big responsibility on all of us to be part of what's coming to Syria, because we shouldn't leave it for just, whoever.
Is there a sense of hierarchy between those sometimes between those who stayed and those who came back? Is that a difficult relationship to manage? I
mean, that was the obvious one for me when I was going back. But I think when I was there, I saw hierarchy in everything, people who stayed, people who left, people who were in east part of Aleppo, people who were in west, people who came before, people who came after the 8th of December, people who came in the summer. Like in every level of things, even as we used to talk about this, even for refugees who left, who came by plane, who came, by sea. It's in everything, like each one experience really let people live in their, trauma in a way that they don't see each other and they don't see others. And what I was mostly really proud of in this trip that we managed to screen for Oussama in many places. And the conversation after the film was like scary, amazing, really optimistic and really horrific. And the discussion between people was what was really needed all this time was always we went back to say we need to sit down, to talk, to listen. There's a lot of gaps, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of miscommunication. And it's all because of not just these 14 years, but even years before. And the trauma, I think, is the most, kind of realization on all over everything.
Yeah. You smiled when I asked that question. I wonder have you found that in your work as well? The difference between, I guess, the different sections of Syrian society?
I think, it's not necessarily just in work, in everything, in everyday discussions and in the news and the work, we feel that there is this hierarchy. Some of it is just grown naturally. It's not necessarily structured hierarchy, but because of the war, all these years on the conflict and things. So there is a lot of hidden things. Now it's coming up to the surface. So yeah, and there is a lot of, in many ways, it's really positive, as Waad mentioned. Sometimes how people are really gathering together and want to do change, and sometimes it's really for me, make me sad sometimes about how we have this way, it's okay to be different, but to accept each other and know each other. I think the main problem now, there is many Syrian, where we need to know each other more, about different part of Syria. And maybe I missed this about what we did. So one of the activities we did after of December, we did virtual visit for all Syria provinces, cities. It was very basic things, where we try to bring, so we know that now it's still the travel, it's not the cost and different things. It's not always easy to take children from Damascus to Idlib, for example, or to Deir ez-Zor or whatever. So we try to do this virtual visit to make the people, children also start to know other area of Syria.
Yeah, I was conducting a very rudimentary interview with this girl called Hasna Alisa. She's an amazing journalist. She'd been arrested and escaped and had twins on her own and made it all the way across the country. And I took, rather naively, a girl from the other side of Damascus to help me translate the conversation. And I was talking through some questions and the answers being given, and then suddenly they both broke out in English. In the end, they both spoke English much better than they needed to. And the conversation was Hasna explaining what had been happening in Eastern Ghouta, how she'd been caught underground, and the translator saying, well, we just didn't know. And she was saying, but how did you not know? I was posting every day as a citizen journalist, this is what was happening. She's saying, well, my parents said I must never leave the house. And these were two women, the same age, 3 miles apart, and both so genuine and honest about what they felt. But there was this misunderstanding, and at the end, the translator, just so sweet and so upset, just said, "This is what Assad has left behind. This great division," and it felt a very moving thing to realize in the room at the same time. And just listening to you say that reminded me of that. So, I guess just one more question, and Oussama, I promise I'm coming back. How then, having been, having left and had this great struggle on this side of the world, and the whole of Syria has waited for this moment on the 8th of December, how then do we, as a group in conversation, as humanitarian workers, as filmmakers, try and not let it flip completely the other way, where the Alawites and the Christians and minorities and perhaps some of the women feel like they're not as represented as they should be? How best to treat that as a group?
Yeah, I think, what I found out when I was there, that it's really difficult to get space for yourself and for your people and for people who think the same. However, I think there is really still, places where it's totally empty and people can, we have to claim it, I know this is not, as simple as it could be, but being there and seeing people and talking to people, the situation is still very rough and very new. I mean, the government are trying to set rules and instruction and stuff, but I still see a big space, of navigating this and trying to be able, how can we do this? How can we come together more? I think in Syria civil society over the years, really worked so hard in different topics and subjects and stuff, and they were all very challenging from outside, without being on the ground, without being able to have access to the victims and people who had the experience, and yet they managed to do a lot of important work, about documentation, about different topics. So now we have the ground, and we can be able to be there as much as we can, and we are able to be together as well, coordinating more and more. So really more projects like this and more people who are able, to do actual work on the ground. There's just one thing which is more complicated today about, where we stand as civil society or as activists, from the current government, where we stand and how we do things. There's a lot of judgment also within our community about whatever you do. Are you, being pro the new government? Are you against the new government? And this outrage of feelings which come up on everything you say or write or do. Yet, I think this is the time which is very sensitive, and we all have to do everything we believe we can do. But again, I think coordinating and being able to work together is, I think, the key for the next stage.
Yeah. And for those who, everybody here knows this, but civil society in Syria has taken, of which you've all contributed, has taken on a huge burden and an amazing amount of work. And I guess the top of it is people like the White Helmets that have been invited in to do large chunks of what would otherwise be state-run, but more smaller organizations also, like these two, propping up the whole of Syrian society. But really my question was more about what do you say, or how do you say to your friends from Sweden or from the coast at the moment, Druze or Alawites? How do you reassure them at any moment in any way?
No one can reassure anyone. This is, I think, a fact to really recognize. What I'm trying to do personally, and again, I think I'm talking on behalf of individuals who are trying to do something, is more about trying to just keep this connection, because this time is really about division, not just between government and people. It's really division in Syria in terms of different areas. I come from area, it's called Masyaf. It's very diverse. The situation there is still okay until now. But also alongside all the way, to Lataki and all of this, it's different situation, different stories. I have friends from Sweden also. I really don't know what to say because we also still feel the shock of what happened. We cannot really understand what happened, and even if we have a narrative of what happened and we believe in that, it's very difficult, to just be clear about, what's going on. I think we just need to believe again, in the main cause and goal of what we want Syria to be, and to keep working on this. I know that so many people feel like maybe we let them down, or we're not speaking enough, or other people from the other side feel like we speak too much, or we only see, the minority issues. However, I think, there's no way you can make everyone okay and happy and feel like you're on the right side. So it just really to focus on small things you can do, and you can still believe, it represents you as well. And try to reflect this on the community around you. And that's, unfortunately, we're in a very, very sensitive situation now.
Yeah, it feels very, very fragile. Oussama, when you look at kind of Syrian history, from the 8th of December until now, is this the beginning of the end of the beginning? A little footnote, a moment in time. What is its significance, and how do we kind of build on it?
Yes, just I want to highlight what you said about the civil society, Syrian civil society. I think this is the beginning, because I think one of the most important outcome of this revolution is not the fall of Bashar al-Assad, but that we build a very strong civil society inside Syria, in neighboring countries. And I think this is the beginning. We all know that, okay, the Bashar Assad period is finished, but we have a big problem inside Syria, that the mentality of people create a new dictatorship. We know that. We know that any people, it's not only Ahmed al-Shara or other one. Any people who don't feel that there is accountability, there is not a people who is following and committee who is overseeing what happening, will create a dictatorship. Now, during this 9 months, everyone can see good indicators and a very bad indicators. And sometimes the same indicators, we can see it, the same action from the government, we can see, oh, it's a good, oh no, it's not good. So we are, as a civil society, we are all in this discussion every day. But as Waad said, I think it's very important to keep the goals in our mind, to have this very clear vision for the future. And I think we can reach our goal, but it's a beginning. And
yeah.
For me, it's a new start, a new beginning.
Then I have one more annoying question on that subject, and that so what then, with your critical hat on, what is your assessment of, be as frank as you can, of Al-Shara and the new government? Do you trust them? Do you feel like they're moving in the right direction? Are they being helpful in your work?
You don't want me to go back to Syria, I think.
You can ask the question however you like.
George, do you want to go back to Syria?
I just ask the questions.
No, it's okay. No, it's not. The question is not if I trust Ahmed Shara or not. I think what for me, Syria, it's not a post-conflict success story, we know, but I believe what make me feel the hope that in Daraya, for example, in my city, and with these small projects that we are doing, people want to participate, and for me this is the change. When people want to interfere in the municipality, to say what they want, to see, oh, okay, now there is a a new funds from the governorate for the government that collect donation from people. Now people are talking about, okay, we want a transparent way to see where this money is going to. And I think this is what we have to focus on. Regarding Ahmed al-Shara', as I said, we can see some things. It's very good indicators and other not. I think it is useless to focus on the people and the authorities. For me, the more we focus on how the community react with the government, it's better.
Very good answer. I'm going to ask, it wasn't supposed to be provocative, I promise. It just seemed like an important person to discuss. I'm going to open up some questions. Whilst you think of that, we'll pass around a microphone. I asked a few people in my studio today the reasons for not giving. And they were, we don't understand the new people, is it a regime, the fighting is over, Assad is gone, so why are we still sending money there? Or they'd rather give to Gaza or Ukraine because it's in the news. What's your response to that? Why should we still be giving to Syria?
I think because we have the opportunity to reach our goal, to create, to rebuild the new Syria. Really, when you talk to people, when you meet a woman with who lost her husband and with 3 children and try to rebuild her homes and insist for her children to have a good education and are talking and to go to municipality to request her rights, I think it's deserved to support this opportunity. And I think we need help. Syria people need help because they have the will to change and to rebuild their country.
Fantastic. Has anybody in the audience got any questions? Go on, Kareem.
Thanks to the whole panel for their intervention. Really lovely. I think it's very important, and some of you spoke to this point, it's really important to break the cycle of, and the pattern of, disenfranchisement and triumphalism. I think for the last 14, 15 years, and beyond that, the last 50, you had huge segments of the Syrian population that felt disenfranchised. They didn't feel a part of the social contract, they didn't feel represented. And when the ex-regime thought that it had won, there was this sense of enormous triumphalism as well. Very damaging, unhealthy kind of triumphalism. Today, we're seeing impressions of the same, but the inverse of that. A sense of disenfranchisement among different segments of the population and triumphalism among another segment of the population. I think it's very important to break that cycle so that we get out of this pattern of behavior. I think of post-79 Iran. A lot of my Iranian friends who are active in this space have warned that in post-79 Iran, a lot of the civil society activists and groups actually made a lot of gains within the first 12 to 18 months. A lot of gains were made, and then the door closed for that. So I think it's very important for the people in this room who are active in this space to go as fast as they can, as hard as they can, to claim as much space as they can, as Waad so correctly pointed out, because the door might close. I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping some of the positive trend lines that we see continue, and a lot of the negative trend lines that we see cease, because there are a lot of them and they're scary. But it's, what I'm saying is that the civil society activism and humanitarian and economic resilience giving are time sensitive, very, very time sensitive, and it's important for us to keep pushing. Thank you.
Thanks, Kareem. Are there any other questions? Whilst you think of them, Marius, maybe you could sort of speak to the same point.
I think there is one question.
Okay. Do you want to do it in that order? Okay, you go first. Introduce yourself if you think it's relevant.
Hello? Yeah, hi. My name is Annette. I'm half Syrian. So I just wanted to ask if you know how much of the government is actually functioning. So for example, if you're doing Ebshed, for example, do you collaborate with the Ministry of Education on any kind of level? Do you depend on them? Do you ask them? Are they functional? Ministry of Health, Ministry of Communication or Media, and does the corruption still exist kind of within the government? Corruption that we know, if you know what I mean. Yeah, just wondering.
So, like in terms of functioning, it's really, like there is no clear answer for that. It's really vary between ministries and even between education directorates. So there is some of them is functioning better than other, and it depends on the leadership basically and the qualification of the people. I mean, we have some good experience, some not really good experience. So for education, we have better experience with the directorate level than the ministry level. I think the ministry, they are focusing on the big NGOs things. They are not really dealing with the civil society, like small size. Also, I know about like health, it's also somehow the same. I don't know much about other ministries. Yeah.
I can just add, because when we were there, we did visit a couple of ministries trying just to understand what the situation, what's happening. I think the most significant thing was really the gap of roles, you know, like there is, for example, new people who came to get on something like specific role, but there is like a huge gap in other places. Some of the old officers who were like taking this job, like for example, they are either very old or they've been on the same job for a really long time, but there was no even resources for them to do anything. Even people who wants to do something, you know, it wasn't really like available for them to do that. In the Ministry of Health, like they counted for us like 13, 14, like very important and essential projects that they don't have people to work on that. And the staff who are there, they are very good, for example, to write reports for like 5-6 pages of really non-make sense, you know, words, while like they don't even have the capacity to send one email. So there is really a lot of things that need to be done on a like huge level. Also in the for me, like in so many places of these people, I know people who, they were amazing in their job in the civil society or in other places outside of Syria, and they're now back to get some like really important work. For me, that's the hope I can see, you know, these people who are really, some of them are sleeping in the office, you know, to just try to make sense of what's going on. And one of the comments from the Ministry of Health, the guy was telling us that I wanted to just understand, you know, what is the situation. I've tried just to collect the information, you know, to know like how many hospitals, how many clinics, how many, like, they don't have even the data to be able, you know, to assess what's gonna happen and how do you need to change this. So, like, the need is really on every level is unbelievable. And there are people who are willing to really collaborate, but you need also, like, the salaries for people who is there is really low, is not enough for people even to live in the main cities like Aleppo or Damascus, for an example. And the work is too much, and you need a lot of like help and assist. So I see people who are really working, but this need like so much to be able to push. And that's why I think why they need to give back, give to Syria. Like, I think for years Assad was trying, you know, to set this example of, you know, it's not gonna change, and it's winning, you know, and it's his fall for that moment. 8th of December was just an example of actually, no, this suffering in Ukraine can end, suffering in Gaza can end. There is something could happen, and you know, people could get a second chance. But then this is the time when it's really sensitive, and you need to set this example that, yes, post-conflict is not another conflict, is not another civil war. And of course, this is not just on Syrian people, it's on the government first, but also on everyone to be able to help in the rebuild as much as they can.
Yes, I can just add, for example, regarding in Daraya, the education, we have more than 60% of school which is destroyed. So we have only now 45%. And regarding the salaries, people contribute to pay the salaries to the teachers because the government cannot pay. So the government pay a sum, but it's not enough to convince teachers to come to school. So people are contributing
$30 a month or something.
Yeah. Regarding, for example, I have another example in the health ministry. We have the Lonely Center for Mental Health and Addiction Treatment in the north, and we wanted to transfer the center to the health directorate. They don't want, because they don't have staff, they don't have money, they are requested from us to keep giving donation or support from EU or French government to stay to keep this center alive. I have just 2 points, I think, regarding the corruption. In Syria, there are a remarkable good things, is that the very extremely kind attitude of people in the checkpoint. You will see that. They are very, I think they had a lot of training to speak to people, to be very kind. This is a very good thing. Regarding the corruption, I think this is, I think it's less than the Assad regime, but they're still there. But people now in the government institution request that, okay, I don't want to pay rashwe, I can't say. Right, yes, I don't want to pay that. So people have this demand, and I think this is why we can say that it's less than Assad period.
Great. Would you just like to ask your question? We'll just take one more, and then we're going to give you all a break.
It's a small point. I mean, what you guys are doing, thank you, is wonderful, but to some extent you are filling in for a government that isn't capable of doing the work that it should be. And that government will never be capable of doing that work unless the economy is working. So where is the government getting support from, or maybe it isn't, to improve, I mean, are former Syrian economists going back to help and advise? Are they hearing from the EU? I mean, I don't know. Because without that, without a functioning economy, the services that are so desperately needed in education, health and beyond simply won't be possible.
Yeah. Do you want to
yes, I agree with you that the NGOs don't have to work in place of the government. The government have the duty to serve peoples, but I think in this period, this gap create an opportunity to civil society, because now if we give people the service just for free, yes, we are working for the government, and this is the problem. But what we are doing for me at Mars, we are creating a committee oversight which interfere with the institution and make pressure that, okay, we want service. And we know that for this time, we cannot do without NGOs and the support of the Europe or the foreign countries. But we are creating as kind of new good governance to create, to make this government accountable to people. I don't know if
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question. I think that's true of all sort of charity-state relationships all over the world, if you think of the RNLI and others here. But there are positives in Syria. Qatar's been paying salaries, the sanctions have been lifted. so that some of the Gulf states are more interested in funding than others. And I think there's a kind of coming wave, but you're right, we need to make sure that it keeps coming, otherwise the pounds and pence that we raise in this room or at Christmas are very, well, they're very well spent, but they're also difficult to see a future in them.
If I may add just briefly here.
Go on.
I think you are correct. So in terms of what's coming to the government, we hear a lot of things. We don't know exactly what's coming in real and what's only promises. And about like we are covering for the government, it might be, but I agree that it's a transitional period. So I think we might cover now, and we need to be, this is what we are trying now to review our strategy and like our thing to be how to be more dynamic. But what we are doing now and like how we are changing, I think it's essential to keep the space and to fight for people to have the place to participate and like to in the future. So when even the government take place, to not be very, let's say, exclusive, to keep the people within this loop. So hopefully we can like contribute to building this in the future.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say that, and one more question, is that there is an opportunity for civil society to offer a model that, because the government has got no other solutions, that it then adopts. And that's what we've seen with the white helmets and in other sectors. Yeah, last question, and then we're going to have a little break.
I just wanted to know, you mentioned the EU, France, and some of the Gulf nations. Are there any other Arab nations that are helping or might be persuaded to help?
I think there is several Arab countries that help. Qatar, Arabistan, all of them. Yeah.
If there is other...
what?
Outside of the Gulf.
I think
Can anybody in the room think of one?
It's a quiz for everyone.
Well, we're going to do another half an hour on what Syria needs now in a minute. So maybe I'll tell Mazen to answer that in a minute. Okay, so the point of this is that we're all going to be in the room for another hour and a half. We're going to have a break now. Please seek out Oussama, Mayas, Waad, ask questions that you thought were silly to say out loud, and we'll break for 10 minutes.